So I'm working on a front lower A-arm today and creating shock mounts. So what you see here, this thing's actually flipped upside down, and that curved piece laying up on top there, well, that's going to be one of the shock mounts. And it also, once it's all together, it creates strength in it too, kind of like a bridge effect. So it's been a while since I fired up the tubing notcher for you guys, so I figure I'm going to do that for you guys today. And that long flat piece laying it in front there, I want to put a bend into that too, so let's get at it. So I bought this thing for like 50 bucks on eBay, and it's so handy. I'm really glad I bought it. And I drive it with my 1/2-inch drill, and I've used it so much I've actually worn out the bushing somewhat in here. There's a bit of play in there, so it'd be really nice if it had bearings. Maybe one day I'll do an upgrade on it, we'll see. So yeah, really handy. And the tubing goes in here, and then you know, it gets cut off by the hole saw there. So then of course I can set the angle on it. You can see the degree marks there. So I'm gonna slip a piece of tubing in here and cut you guys a notch. So not all hole saws are created equal, as I found out. I had one that went like 70 cuts, or maybe even more, before it was finally just too beat up to properly use. And I had one that went like, it was like 10 or 15 cuts, and then it was junk. So somebody suggested, one of the viewers suggested I should try a Milwaukee ice hardened hole saw. So that's what I got, and I've just used it a few times. You know, time will tell whether it's a good piece or not. But okay, let's fire this thing up. So if I can go like 70, 80 cuts on a one hole saw, you know, that's pretty good for me. And it would probably go longer too if I'd use some cutting oil, but I just don't want the mess. But anyway, so I want to put a bend in this thing now, once I determine where. So I actually just lined this up by eye here, and I made a mark. So that's the top there, that's where I want the bend to be. And so it's lining up there at the bottom. So I'm going to go put a couple of cranks in this thing and distort this tubing. So you guys remember my cheapy bender here? I've made many a bend with this thing. The confusing part about these things when you buy them is they are sometimes listed as a pipe/tube bender, and in reality there's a difference in measuring pipe versus tube. One's measured inside, one's measured outside. So they don't have the shoes for both. This is really a pipe bender only, because the shoes are not included with this thing to bend tubing. And I don't even think the tubing dies for these cheap benders are even available. It's all just for pipe. But what I found is that if I use the die that is the one size too small, you see how the tubing, it doesn't really fit into that die? Well, it's going to slide down there when I start cranking on it, and then it supports it nicely and makes a nice bend. You can see my tubing. The mark is right in the middle of the bender, and ready to start cranking on this thing. I'm just comparing my new piece to the first one that I bent, so I can see I need to bend it a little bit more. Usually what I do, if I got a whole bunch that I got to bend and they're all the same, I'll count the amount of strokes that it takes to get there. Kind of gets me in the ballpark, you know. So anyways, I'll have to give this one some more. There, that's better. Happy with that. So I like to do actually most of my cutting outside. It cuts down on the fire hazard and it cuts down on the mess in the shop and stuff. So this is the basic shape of the arm, and so I've got a shock mount here too. I'll slip that in there and then you can see how that fits. So it's sort of like that. So I've just got a spot weld here and there, and then the rest is all completely loose. So then there's a brace that goes down here, same thing on the other side, and then I'll put one across. So then what happens is not only do I end up with a shock mount, but the whole thing becomes a bridge, you know, to support the load. And this thing, remember, it's still upside down, so you know the shock mount would be hanging down underneath the A-arm and stuff. So, but anyways, I just figured I'd get to hang out with you guys in the shop a bit today. So I was playing around on the guitar last night, and this is what I came up with. So I'm going to play it for you, but the timing doesn't seem quite right and stuff, but kind of a rough copy for you guys. So sort of like that.